Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, two very special guests. They're, of course, part of the legendary Von Erich family. We have Marshall and Ross, the former MLW Tag Team Champions. Welcome, the Von Erichs. How you guys doing?
Good,
Great,
man.
man.
How are
Thanks for
you?
having us.
Very good, very good. I guess we'll start with Marshall. What's going on in your world? And obviously we'll go to Ross too, but what's going on in your world?
World's been good. There's been a lot of changes to my face. Most of all, which is the mustache, but the mustache has been the talk of the Von Erich compound for the past few days. And then Big Brother followed for the first time in my footsteps. So it's pretty cool. But everything's been going good. I just built a house. We've taken some time off just to get the house finished. Um, where I was in a little farmhouse, it's about 500 square feet, but I got two babies now, so it was getting kind of tight with a one bedroom, and so we're trying to make room so that I can get back on the road and devote more time to this art that I love. We want to give the next 5 to 6, 7 years. We want to go all out in professional wrestling. We want to completely dedicate ourselves. And now that my family is housed and has a place where they can stay comfortably. I feel a lot more comfortable than doing longer trips rather than doing 3 or 4 day trips and then coming right back and forth, back and forth. And so I'm getting everything. We're getting everything structured right now for another big, I guess, tour, what we would call it.
What about you, Ross? What's going on?
Man, not a whole lot. Just going to the beach, hanging out with friends, hanging out with the family, trying to make the most of. We got a little bit of downtime now. We have a month and a half or two.
Yeah.
And so just enjoying it, hanging out with the nieces and nephews, and driving everybody to practice and stuff. So good stuff.
Yeah. It's been fun.
You guys still on the island? Still in Hawaii?
Yeah. We're still in Kauai. We've been coaching or coaching our nephews. They're little football players, and so just helping out as much as we can. A lot of the times when we're gone, there's a lot of things we not able to do, and so being here for this is really cool. Getting to watch the kids grow up a little bit. And
yeah, when we're on the road, we feel like we're always missing out on stuff, and then so this downtime, we're like, let's dedicate time to the family, do all the stuff we regret when we're on the road. So.
Exactly.
Is this self-inflicted downtime, or like how come you guys have time off?
Well, yeah. So we're just the house situation. I was building. I wanted to get my family and basically in the house so that we can have more. I can leave them comfortably because it's hard. The 500 square foot. Ross and I go on trips and stuff, and my wife's kind of stuck in one room with two babies, and I could see that was kind of wearing on her a little bit. So Ross helped me, but we learned drywall, electrical, pretty much everything you got to know to build a house, and we got this whole house built and set. It's we learned from YouTube University. We had some good people help us. There's a lot of people came in and out and helped us through the trip, but now they're squared away, and so we've been taking the last month to get back into shape, and take we're gonna pour our next 5 to 7 years, maybe even longer, but we feel like it's time. I know a lot of people don't know, but I guess our time with MLW is almost up. I think June 1st is when our contracts are up, and so we're just gonna see what happens after that. Play the field, never say never, but we're just gonna just see what comes to us or after this.
So it looks like you guys will be back in January when they have their, I guess, return. I think it's Philadelphia or whatever it is. You
We're
guys will be
hoping
back
to.
for ML?
Yeah, we're not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything yet, but we definitely want to be a part of it for sure.
Do you miss MLW? Do you want to get back in there?
Yeah, man. MLW's and they've done so much for us. They've been like, I've said it before in interviews, but MLW came at a crazy time. Court Bauer came when we were on the indie scenes, mostly in Texas and doing some international stuff, Israel and Japan, and they came in and let us really get to see the east coast of the United States and get to wrestle in towns we never thought we'd wrestle in, and couldn't believe that we were even recognized in some of these towns, and definitely gave us a lot of TV experience and things. Being in Japan, there's not much promo work that you get done. It's mostly just professional wrestling. So MLW has been a huge blessing, and in that regard. We love the whole team. We love all the guys up there and stuff. Made some brothers and stuff. So, who knows? We hopefully we'll keep doing MLW shows after the contracts are up. But we'll see. I say we're in good relationship with Court and everybody up there. So yeah, it's just we've taken some time off for the house, and Court respected that and stuff. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
I feel like with you guys, MLW has like their own guys. You know what I mean? Like Fatu, Hammerstone, you guys are like the core guys. So if they lose you, I mean that would be a big loss. But like right now, them not having you kind of stink just for like a fan perspective, not having you guys around.
Yeah, man. No,
yeah. I mean, we'd love to be there.
Yeah. We've been ready. My family's been in the house for about a month, so yeah, we've been ready to come back, and we'll see. We'll see when set up a phone call soon with MLW, and yeah, I want to get back in there, man.
Ross, when you like initially kind of just got into the business, we can rewind all the way back. Did your dad want you to be a wrestler or no?
He was real big on not wanting to force us into anything, and I think a lot of the feelings were like a lot of people thought that we would be forced into it, or my dad felt like the fans thought he was forced into it, so he just wanted to make it totally up to us. And so we've been athletes our whole life, and so our first love was football and track and all that stuff, and we got an opportunity to do a wrestling camp with Harley Race right out of high school, and I was like, okay, let's try it out. It went from there right to Japan, and so it's more of a thing that's kind of grown on us. Like our love is like the longer we've been doing it, the more we've been falling in love with it, and
like a dream too good to come true in a way. We as kids we always we're wrestling all the time. We've had 60,000 matches on a trampoline and backyards and all that stuff. Yeah. Wrestled our friends, started a little kid promotion in the little neighborhood that we had. Not really a neighborhood, it was a farm, but we had a bunch of people come up and started a little own promotion. But when we got in the ring together for the first time at Harley Race's camp, I remember we first got in there. My dad and Harley were sitting around in the ring, like watching us. It was, I don't know, it's you can't imagine that you'd ever do what your dad did, because we saw our dad as as a Hercules, and to think like, man, I guess you never think that you'll meet that level and fill those shoes and all that. But honestly, at first we did kind of look at it like that, like, oh man, we'll never fill these shoes. This is crazy. Look who they were. And then as we wrestled, we got to know our uncles more and more by going to towns they've been in, meeting so many people that knowing them. It was like it was almost made wrestling more attractive, because I felt like I was getting to know my family a little better. And that's what I think my cousin Lacey got into wrestling for too, is get to know her father better, because she meets so many men that were on the road with him that knew him. And so it's wrestling has, in a weird way, you can be so far across the world and feel right at home, feel like you're with your family in a locker room, and I think it started growing on us. Being bad at it for a long time, that sucked. That was kind of hard, getting in Japan and not really having that ring experience and all that, but those guys pounded the fundamentals into us. But I'd say we really fell in love with it when we started going to doing Texas shows, and we saw really what our family did in this industry, and it was pretty unreal. I thought I got it, and I thought I had a grasp of what the family did, and then when you get there, I cannot believe how many people were impacted, and there's guys that are having rough times at work, guys that didn't have a father figure, mother figure in the house, or girls, and talk about how her family impacted them in some way. They'd get so excited to watch on the weekends and all this, and that right there gave us so much drive. At least we'll go out there and we're going to do our best and try as hard as we can, and not try to fill make up these borders that we got to fill our family.
Yeah, just be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, be the best version of ourselves.
So how is your dad, by the way, before I ask you some questions? But how's your dad doing?
He's good. He's great. Yeah, he's great. We just took a walk down to the river not too long ago. Took the dogs
scuba diving 2 days ago at Luma High on the North Shore. He loved it. We went 2 days in a row.
He's great. Years ago, when he used to do the conventions team, I met him a few times, but he doesn't come over here nearly as much as he used to. Obviously, he's kind of, I guess, loving Hawaii and not wanting to leave.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to get his butt on a plane, but I think we he has a maybe one more hurrah in him. We want to maybe one day we want to get him back out there, and possibly, I don't know, me and Ross are 50-50 on it, but I would like to get him, in the ring one more time, one last
at least clawing somebody one more time.
Yeah,
I want to see that. Yeah.
And what's crazy is my dad's not against the idea at all. He thinks he's Superman still, so it's perfect.
Wrestling or just an appearance in the ring? You want him actually like maybe 6-man?
I want to do a 6-man. I want to do a 6-man. All three of us.
I'm leaning more towards appearance, but we'll see how the chips fall.
I feel like I could talk him into it. It's my sisters that are really not helping. They're, no, Daddy, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna get hurt. But that guy, he's brutal. He fell out of a tree the other day. He's like he's Tarzan. He's rough.
Yeah, he still knows how to take a bump.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he knows how to fall. He's great at falling.
So that like Dark Side of the Ring stuff when he's hanging out in the trees, that wasn't just for the show. He really is up in the trees.
Man, that's
he might actually be out there right now.
Yeah, he's probably out there.
He's always out, hanging out with the animals, feeding the sheep, walking everywhere. So,
out of anybody I know, he's one guy that I know that he's doing exactly what he wants to do, and he's the most fulfilled man I've ever met. Every time I see him, he's got a huge smile on his face. It's unbelievable, what he's gone through. And for him to be able to experience that much joy, and there's no secret to it, man. He's living the abundant life, as he would say.
Yeah, he's always been just a different type of guy that we've ever known. Pretty eccentric, loves his family, just like no one else. And he's got the warrior mentality, and he's also got the soft side with like the kids and everything
and animals.
And animal. It's he's an interesting guy. We like to pick his brain as much as we can. We're just actually getting into wrestling from the first time just got us to know our dad so much better, because we can start talking about places they've been, that we've been, and stories that happen, and it's always so good just to
my dad didn't really ever brag on himself or put himself over, as we'd say in wrestling, and we really didn't know. We watched world-class tapes and things like that, and of course YouTube, to see what he was doing, and then getting to know how big the Von Erichs were in Texas, like being in Texas and wrestling, and really seeing it, really put it in perspective for us. And so I remember we just came home one day, as after the TNA show in Dallas. We watch somebody get on their feet and Dad stick the claw, and we didn't know he was going to stick the claw. We had no idea that was happening.
That was a shock to us.
That was a shock to us, and watching the place erupt. And we got in the ring, and I was like, man, I remember we got in that locker room after that, and nobody could talk. You had like this like joyful bubble in your throat. We're just staring at each other, laughing, kind of teary-eyed. It was so cool. And that's kind of when it hit me. Like, this is what I want to do. I just want to do it the rest of my life. As a kid, I wanted to do it, but the fact that we're able to do it, I get to do it with my brother as well. It's crazy. We're doing exactly what our heroes were doing.
What a moment at that TNA show, that pay-per-view, because like you said, you didn't even know he was going to do it. The fans kind of like, no way, no way he's going to pull this out. And he pulls out the claw.
That tripped us out so much. Afterwards, we're laughing because like, man,
he got us on that one.
Yeah, he got us big time. It was unbelievable. It was a great time. It was great timing, and that's that veteran experience. He came in and did his thing, and the place erupted. It was so cool to hear those Texas fans. I don't know how many years it was that they haven't screamed the name Go Kevin Go or the Von Erich name, and seeing that was is historical. It was really it meant a lot, and it was on Father's Day, probably. And I was thinking about, it's one of the best days of my life. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you guys, or are you guys a part of? Is your dad a part of that Iron Claw, the movie with Zac Efron? Is anybody a part of that as far as the family?
No, yeah, they're making the movie. My dad is a public figure, they're making the movie, but the director, I believe, he's been contacting my dad, and they've been talking and stuff, and he's apparently he's a lifelong fan, and he loves my dad, and he wants to tell the story right. And so we're hoping for the best. They seem like really good people and stuff, and so we'll see. You never know with movies. For me, my dad was just like what my brother was saying. He's so different. You know, people that know him, that really know him. You'll probably never meet anybody like him. Some people that don't know him would assume that he's this good-looking, pretty boy Hollywood guy, but he wasn't at all. My dad is the opposite of a pretty boy. He doesn't try at all to be good-looking. He literally, if hair's in his eyes, he'll grab it and cut it out of his face. And he didn't care about the way he looks at all. And he came off of this, you know, rugged Tarzan guy. And I think if it's told right, it's going to be a really, really great movie. And I mean, it can be so many things. It can be a love story. Of course, it can be sad, you know, because with the deaths and the brothers. But if you look at my dad, it's not a sad story after it. He will tell you I mean, because he told us death can do two things to a man. It can harden you towards the world and make you hate everything, or it can break you down and make you compassionate towards those who suffer. And my dad is one of the most compassionate men that I've ever met, with my children, with all the nieces and nephews, with us. I think when you live in that warrior mentality for so many years, because he was rugged, you know, he would lay it into other wrestlers. He'd kind of take the deaths of his brothers out in his matches on.
And it was rough back then. You know, you had enemies in different territories and stuff.
He had a lot of enemies. There was a rage inside of him. He's losing hold of the promotion.
He had no one left. You know,
he had no one left. He felt alone, and it just makes us love our dad more and more. What he went through, and not once when he came home, we had no idea things were bad. Man, he would just be dad. He would love on us. Be at every football practice, at every recital for my sisters. Everything that he had to do, father-wise, he was there for, and not once did he complain. And I hope I'm the half the man my dad. I hope the kind of father that he is, you know. And so I think this movie's told right, it will impact a lot of people. I know that in our newspaper over here, they wrote a story about him, and a few of these people were really impacted by it. There's a homeless guy that me and him talked to that stopped drinking just from reading the story. And so I was like, that's just a glimpse of, shoot, man, if this thing's told right, it could impact a lot of people, that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's the ultimate gift, for someone to hear the story and glean something from it that will benefit them or people around them. That's mission accomplished.
Yeah. He said it would be all worthless if that's not what the story did, you know.
And the picture of Zac Efron is getting out there. He looks huge. He looks like almost as big as your dad, but obviously he's shorter, but he looks huge.
I know. My dad said, I said, all right, man, relax. You're looking too good.
He got there.
Might have to switch roles to Uncle Kerry.
Yeah, I was going to say he's getting so big, it might have to be Kerry eventually. Yeah, because Kerry was like a Greek god. Yeah.
Thinking too.
Were you alive at all? Like, when were you guys born? And I think Kerry died in 1983. Did you know Kerry at all or no?
I was born in 92. He knew him. He knew.
I was born in 88. Yeah, I knew him pretty well. I knew him and my Uncle Chris. And I have, man, nothing but good memories from my Uncle Kerry. Always, everything's a joke. Always trying to make you laugh. Like, I don't know, great with kids.
I don't know if it's too much, but you show them the
Oh yeah, one time my dad and my Uncle Kerry and I were we'd go to the spring box every day, and and you know, I'd play with the little crawdads in there in Texas. And one time one of them pinched me, and I was crying. I was like 3 years old or whatever, and my Uncle Kerry picked him up and said, Did you bite my nephew? And he shook his head, yes. And then he just ate the whole thing live right there in front of me. He's like, he's not going to bite you anymore. And so that was just burned into my memory. I don't know what kind of thing that was, but
he had two Hercules father figures right there in front of him.
Yeah, it was good.
Really. Kerry, legit. I mean, talk about Tarzan, like the actual drawing of Tarzan, like that's him. Like he's just gigantic. Yeah. He's a huge dude.
It's some of the stories you hear about them and stuff, because that's what I'm living off the stories of them, and it's crazy. We'll meet. I know Justin Roberts, a good friend of ours, the announcer. He had a story about my Uncle Kerry that, you know, it rocked us. We were just talking and passing and stuff, and he said that he just it was either a hotel or a venue, but my Uncle Kerry took time with them, got to know him. You know, I think it was maybe like a hotel pool or something. I don't want to butcher the story. He can probably tell you, but it's how it impacted him. And he said that's kind of what got him into professional wrestling. And Uncle Kerry has a lot of those stories, you know, like with The Rock as well, or something happened with his dad. He got choked out or something. His dad choked him out in front of the boys and in the locker room, and he said he felt a big arm lay on top or lay over his shoulders. Like 30 minutes later, his Uncle Kerry encouraged him, hugged on him. That's the kind of guy he was. He was a big teddy bear, and my dad said he was the least confrontational of all the brothers. He hated fighting. He'd rather be friends. And there's a funny story. My dad, my Uncle Dave, and my Uncle Kerry, they all went to summer camp, and my dad and my Uncle Dave were, they're 14 months apart. And so the first day of camp, they all met at lunchtime, and they were talking about, I could probably beat up everybody in my camp, in my age group. My Uncle Dave was like, yeah, me too. He's like, I beat up, I got in a fight with two of the strongest kids, and I beat them up. So what about you, Kerry? Did you beat anybody up? And he's like, not yet, but I can. And they're like, "What, Kerry? What the hell, man? Go find the toughest guy in there and go beat him."
He was probably maybe 10 or 11 at the time. Yeah.
And he was like 10 or 11. And so my dad and Uncle Dave followed him to his little camping group. And so Uncle Kerry went up to this guy and said, "Hey, do you want to fight me?" And he's like, "No, I want to be friends." And Uncle Kerry, you can tell, heard Uncle Kerry look down. He's like, "Oh shoot!" And he looked at my dad and my uncles, and he was like, "He's like, I could probably chew your little butt up, but probably be just too chewy." And then my dad and Uncle Dave were mad at him, said he wasn't good at talking crap or whatever. And he's like,
yeah, he's everywhere he went. He's always the most popular kid, likable kid. So.
It's not in his nature. He didn't want to fight the kids. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. He ended up not fighting him. And my dad feels bad about it. A few years later, he's like, "Shoot, that was the right thing to do."
He was one of the very few that actually got along with like Lance Von Erich. When Lance was in the territory, he was buddies with him.
That's right.
He liked everybody.
Yeah. And my dad and Lance are good now. I know, or at least my dad's let everything go. It's kind of been a sore subject in our family. Like I can't get that much information out of it either. But it's we had him on our podcast like a year or so ago, and he talked about it and stuff. I think it was right after Lance released a book or whatever. But my dad said, he was just a kid doing his thing, man. He can't hold anything against him. It was some Japan tour that my dad got. It was hard for him to let go. He was representing the name, and then I think left Japan.
Yeah, my dad was in the hospital for a concussion. Lance went over there, and Lance bailed on the trip because
something.
And my dad had to leave. He wasn't supposed to take any more head injuries. He had to get out of his hospital bed and go because they paid for Von Erich, and so.
First match, gets kicked in the head, knocked out. The doctor said if you get kicked in the head, there's a big possibility that you'll die. And so my dad, my uncle, or my grandfather said, "Kevin, we need to get out there. You need to get out. One of the boys need to get out there right now." And so my dad, his older brother, he had to go. He bounced and went. And then the first match was a Shudo match, and he got kicked in the head. And so my dad was when my dad just lost it. He said he woke up. The bell just rang, and the guy, he was throwing his jacket over the ropes. His back was turned to his opponent. The opponent kicked him in the back of the head. He said he woke up and he saw little kids in the front row, and he said all he was thinking of, look at these beautiful children. And he's like, "Wait, what the hell? I've been knocked out." And he looked up and saw the guy standing above him, and he dislocated his knee. He pulled the guy's knee out and said, "You remember me?" "Yes, you remember." It's a crazy story when he tells it, but there was a lot of that's the old Kevin Von Erich that. We'll see glimpses of every now and then, but it's he's such a different person now.
Yeah.
Is it true about the shoes? He never wears shoes. Like he just doesn't.
No.
Yeah, really, none of us do.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's always been that way. His feet are, like hooves. Basically, looks like they feel like the bottom of like a dog's foot or something. They're just made for off road.
Yeah. He does not wear. Yeah, he doesn't ever wear shoes. I mean, there's rare times where my mom will beg him to, and he'll wear some shoes. But literally, if you wear shoes for too long, the sides of them, little holes get worn out into them because his pinky toes are so wide set from being barefoot all the time. He'll wear holes in shoes like way quicker than
his feet are like hands. He can pick stuff up with them and like grab stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Grab remotes and throw them up and catch it. Yeah, he still does that all the time.
Where did that start? And like obviously you guys are kind of keeping the tradition, but where did that start? Like why no shoes? Like when he would wrestle and stuff.
From what I understand, is he forgot his boots one time, and he said that was all it took. He forgot his boots, and he always wanted to go barefoot anyways. So he forgot his boots, and he said he felt way more stable, better balance in the ring on his bare feet. And I feel that UFC fighters do it. I think there's there's a reason to do it. I'm the same thing with me. I just feel way more comfortable. I always thought when
we've always been kind of encouraged to go barefoot, and so it's just been normal. Like when we first moved to Kauai, all my friends, we'd go down to this swimming hole, and you had to walk over this lava rock, and they're like, oh, he's not going to be able to do it. His feet are probably all, from Texas. He's probably wears shoes all the time. And I had the craziest feet of anybody. I was running up across the jagged rocks, and it's nothing. That's the way we're all grown up.
Yeah, this is normal for it.
Yeah.
He could easily wrestle barefoot. I mean, he's got the same feet as I do, so he'll rag on my feet. This guy's got dirty feet too.
I'll wear boots. That way we're covering all the bases. But I like being barefoot just as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
I think the old world-class announcer Mark Lawrence had a joke like, "Oh, Kevin probably just didn't want to put the boots on anymore." Like, screw, like that kind of thing where he's like, "Oh, he probably just didn't want to put them on anymore." But I guess he had a reasoning for it. He liked it.
He said too, like, when you're if you're in a town, like we go on family vacations and stuff, especially when he was a lot younger and my sisters and stuff, my dad would just do spot shows, and he said literally just carry a pair of trunks in his back pocket and he can take his work wherever he wants to go. He doesn't have to lace up any boots or anything. And so, I mean, it's simple, and I like it too. I like being able to just.
I like the minimalist the vibe of it all.
Just carrying some trunks, and I'm ready to go whenever we need to go.
Plus, he sticks out like nobody else except for like obviously later on, like Haku later on, but like and like the Samoan guys, but nobody else does that pretty much.
You don't see any like just American dudes wearing no shoes. Yeah,
strange.
So with you guys and getting in, obviously Harley Race plays a role. WLW. How do you get over to Japan though? That's Harley too, getting you guys over there to Noah?
Yeah, that was Harley. We went to his camp, and I remember there's so many question marks before we went. We're excited to meet. We're excited to get to see Harley again, and then we went there, and it was a wrestling academy, and Pro Wrestling Noah was involved. They're either looking for talent, or the person that wins the tournament gets a trip to Japan. And we were actually in the beginners class because we didn't take any bumps or anything yet. We didn't know how to take bumps, so our whole class was just bumping. And then the more experienced guys actually went to the show and had matches and stuff. But there was 2 Japan scouts there, and Ross was in the other room, and I was sitting in the ring. And one of the Japanese scouts came up to me and asked me if, or he said I looked like Fritz von Erich, and I was like, yes, that's my grandfather. And he freaked out. And then Ross walked up, and I was like, this is my brother Ross. And he's like, you have brother too? And he like lost his mind, and he's like. Went and said, where's your father? Couldn't believe my dad was there, and he invited us right there. And that's really when I saw like what a blessing it was to be a Von Erich, because those guys joined that tournament just to get offered to go to Japan, and we really didn't appreciate or know how big of a deal it was until it happened. Like, man, guys are working their whole lives to go to Japan, and we're starting off in Japan. But it was humbling. Went for 3 months, right out of the gate for 3 months. Came home for a few days, back for 3 months. Came home for a few days, back for another month. It was missed out on a lot of stuff, but it was the best thing for our careers. We got the fundamentals pounded into us, and we grew a lot closer as brothers. Grew up as men. Our parents and family members definitely said that we came back as men. We left as kids. I was homesick, missed my parents and stuff. I was just a kid, missed my girlfriend, all this crap, and it was really, really traumatic, but good, really good for us.
Ross, culture shock going over there to Japan? It's got to be a little bit of a change.
Yeah. Oh man. Especially for those first 2 years, we spent more time in Japan than we did in America. And for me, I just moved to Hawaii over after my first semester of high school, my senior year. So my second semester I spent in Hawaii, and that was a culture shock. So, I went from that right after he graduated, then we went straight over to Japan. So a lot of maturing took place, and I think it was all meant to be. Like we needed just to be more well-rounded, more cultured, more traveled, and mission accomplished.
When you do that, and you're obviously making a huge commitment, are you thinking this is it? We're going to be wrestlers. Like we're going forward with this. Like that's the stamp. Like I know you said eventually the TNA thing made you really love it, but obviously doing that trip to Japan, you got to be thinking it's going to be your job for life.
Well, dude, man. So we felt it. I'm not usually. I'm like we're really bad at stuff for a long time. I'm not trying to be like cocky or anything, but God really did bless us with good genetics. We've always been good at football, good at track and field, and those kind of things have always come like semi easy. And professional wrestling, it's just like I would go out there and feel like I had a good match in Japan and get in the back and like, no, terrible. You didn't. Yeah, it was a bad job. And they just tell you blatantly like that. And it was so hard not to be good at something. It wore out. It wore on you a lot. And I think our record was like 0-60 at one point, or something like that. And we were talking to each other. And I actually felt like giving up. I was like, man, dude, I feel like we're just embarrassing our family, man. If anybody like searches the Von Erichs, we're over here getting our butts kicked, and we're green. We're not very good. We're doing more damage than good. And so it was kind of the big story where I believe it was Kurikan Hall, or it might have been Osaka. I want to find the building this happened, but we were sitting there talking about maybe going home after this or finishing this tour. We didn't want to leave middle of the tour, so we're just like, we're going to finish the tour. That way it honors Dad, honors the family, and then we'll just we'll figure something out after. And then we actually said a prayer right there. Him and I were sitting there and we prayed like, if you want us to do that, if we should keep doing this, and I pray that you give us a clarity that this is what we need to do. And we just, I'm sure everybody feels like that. If when you start anything, you're not great at it, it's hard not to get, discouraged in it, like podcasting too, man. I thought it's when you don't see the numbers at first, it's hard. And, we said a little prayer. We went and had our match, and before all of our matches and after our matches, we always go to a roof, or just get away from the people, get away from the locker room, just to get alone and talk, say a prayer, hang out. And so we were sitting up there, and I remember thinking in my 19-year-old mind, I was like, man, how are they so like good at this, man? They were just like, everything came natural, and I just don't have it, man. What is it? And so we're on the roof. We just had that prayer. We just had our match. We were sitting up there. And Ross we were gonna initial our names in a wall just to say, man, if this is the last time we're here, like our initials will be on this wall forever. So Ross got up on my shoulders and marked it high so nobody could erase it. Marked it or whatever. Well, we marked it before the match. That's right. And then we came back up on the roof, and we're sitting there hanging out, looking at our scratch marks. And then a little further down, we saw another scratch mark, and we reread it, and it was I believe, I won't get the year wrong. It was like 82, 83, maybe later, but it said Kevin David, and Kevin David with my dad's signature crocodile. He always draws this little crocodile with jagged teeth or a shark with jagged teeth. That's this little thing that he always draws since we were kids. And I was like, what is that? It just hit me so hard. Like, whoa, is this really them? And if that wasn't confirmation that we were where we were supposed to be, then I don't know what confirmation is, because we just had that prayer, just us that day. And then we carved our names, and then we see a carving of our dad and uncles. Then we talked to my dad when we got to the hotel. Wi-Fi called him, and he told us, he's like, yes, we marked a ton of buildings. Yeah, that's definitely our signature. It's Kevin David with my little crocodile. And that right there was the turning point where I knew, okay, I might not be good at this, but this is what, at least.
Yeah, we're at least going to stick to it and see where it goes.
Yeah. There's a bigger purpose to this than just not being good at it. Maybe I'll get good at it one day. And yeah, we had to stick through it. And it didn't get easier after that. It stayed hard. It stayed hard for a while, but eventually things started coming together. Then we came to Texas and started main eventing, and then doing Israel shows, UK, back to Japan, and then MLW came, and it's only been going up. It's been a slow and steady ascent, and I think it's going to continue to go, because right now we're at a level of maturity where we're ready to pour our full selves in this, and we've never been closer. We know each other really well, like what the other one's thinking. And so I feel like we have chemistry that no other tag team really has. That you have that advantage when you're brothers, and so I'm sure there's other brother tag teams out there, but I'm sure they all feel this way too. But I don't think there's any brothers that can out brother us.
That seems like a sign, though. Like what you're saying in Japan, that's like a little bit of a sign. Like that's kind of eerie. It's like we're definitely meant to be doing this. That we're signing here in a certain spot, and like, oh shit, there's David, Dad, and Carrie.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can't emphasize enough the timing and just the atmosphere and the timing was just insane. We're like, both got like chills. Like
it was crazy.
crazy.
I was 19. Like I didn't really know knew what I believed really yet. And that was when I started taking prayer seriously. I was like, holy crap, we just prayed. And I just got this sign right here. It rocked me. It changed my life. It really did.
It gave meaning and purpose to wrestling. And
that's the promise we look back at when, you know, we're having a low day in wrestling, something embarrassing happens, a bad match, something happens. It's that, you know, we know that we're supposed to be here because this is where we're supposed to be, and we continue to do it. And I know that there is going to come a day where it's going to be, it's even now, man, even now, if it ended right now, I'm blessed to say that me and my brother, we got to do that. We got to go to different countries. We got to do a lot of cool stuff, all on wrestling dime. So
we traveled the world, won belts, met, you know, had a lot of friends, had some good times, and so we're, you know, wrestling doesn't owe us anything at this point. We're just really grateful, you know, and the more I feel like the more grateful we are, you know, the more things kind of just fall in your lap. It seems like
it's caused us to be more grateful for our dad and get way closer to him. We're coming back with the same road stories. The longer we wrestled, the more my dad makes sense. Everything he does and is just makes sense. I see why he's not like super domesticated when we're out in like public places. And
I'm like, Dad, why do you have to talk with your hands so big every time? And it's just, you know, just little things. You're like, okay, I get it now, because you know, you're part pantomiming it when you're in the ring and stuff, and it just becomes natural.
Yeah,
little things like that. You're like, okay, I get it now. Okay.
His time in Japan, if he talks to anybody Japanese, he tries to do it, try to speak Japanese. If he talks to anybody from Mexico, he's trying so hard to speak Spanish.
He'll only speak Spanish when he talks, and
the Spanish sucks, by the way. It's not very good at all. So, but he'll keep going.
Yeah, no shame.
But he speaks Japanese?
He'll try. Yeah. He'll try. I mean,
he knows. He'll speak a sentence, and there'll be like 3 Japanese words in it.
Yeah. They'll usually be like, it doesn't make sense, but okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, though. Like, he's kind of trying to adapt to everybody and like learn their language. That's pretty highly intelligent. It's crazy.
It's a sign of respect. You know,
it is.
I want to. You know, I respect your culture, and you know,
when we went to Israel, you know, we were thinking about the match and stuff. And my dad was on his phone trying to learn as much Hebrew as he could for interviews and promos. And all that. Man, that's pretty professional to learn the country's tongue. And then, you know, that's pretty cool.
Pretty crazy if you think about it. With world class in Israel, it's like obviously they got that over there, but your dad and his brothers were like, God's over there. But it's like, wow, Israel, Texas? It seems like the oddest combination.
It really does. And how big Texas was in Israel. Like there's people love Texas and Israel, which blew my mind. And in Japan, we were in Japan at a rest stop in the middle of nowhere, and we got to this little rest stop. We're eating noodles and get gas and all this stuff. And there's it said, welcome, howdy y'all, welcome to Texas, and I had like Texas stuff everywhere, and it's pretty unreal. The Israel thing blows my mind too. My dad said that was
how random is that? It's like a little tiny speck on the map on the opposite side of the earth, you know, in both directions. It's like, you know,
he said he couldn't believe how far away from home he was, and how many people. It was the first time he got weak in his knees from the sea of people when he got off the plane. So there's no way that's for me. And cops were telling him, don't look up, don't make eye contact, look at the ground, walk through the barriers, had barriers and stuff. And he waved at a lady, and they said the whole place erupted. And the cops threw him on the shoulder. He thought he was getting arrested. He's like, it was crazy. And I was like, man, that's you never thought that. And it was the first time they had a ceasefire in years between the Palestinians and the Jewish people. They had a ceasefire to watch wrestling, which is crazy.
Yeah, and it was actually popular in Jordan and in Israel, which in Israel, the way they were able to watch world class, it wouldn't be great quality, but they could move their antenna where they could pick up the Jordan station, which showed world class. And so it was like these two enemies of each other had a common I don't want to say hero, but you know, they both enjoyed watching wrestling, and I just, what a cool thing something like wrestling could do on a big, you know,
the ratings were 100%,
geopolitical scale,
which is crazy. If the ratings are 100%, is on Saturday, the show came on Saturdays right after Shabbat, so they weren't allowed to watch TV until after Shabbat. And so right when Shabbat was over, the first thing they'd watch, and it was world class.
It has to be one of the first times in history anything had 100%, you know, show a rating.
So everybody's watching. Any of our Jewish friends were telling us, he's like, the country the whole country was watching every match, everything they did. And for some reason they picked, my dad to love. They loved the other brothers too, but there was something about my dad, and it's crazy too. My dad takes a lot of his wrestling mindset towards the country, or towards Israel. He's thinking bases it on it being a small country surrounded by enemies and all this stuff. And
yeah, he calls it the ultimate babyface story. He's somebody that's outmatched, outgunned, but you're standing for what you believe is right, and you're willing to fight your heart out to do that. You want to do the right thing, and it's kind of my dad to a T. So I think it's kind of cool. And we're going over there. There was all these people in the crowd telling stories that we met, just saying, when we were kids, we'd wrestle on the playground, and I would be this Von Erich, and we would be that, and
it's the same stories we hear in Texas from fans and stuff. It's like crazy. We're on the other side of the world, and
it's just mind blowing. It's really crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts, because like wrestling can somehow bring like people together. It's like
Exactly.
It's almost like a language that's like unspoken, but everyone understands it together.
That's extremely well said, because it is. I've wrestled guys that don't speak English, and it's crazy how it works out. Like
in Japan, it's like the guy knows like 2 words in English, and you go out there and you have a match, and you speak the same language out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exactly like that.
It's funny, like, can anything else, maybe other sports, maybe a little bit, but sometimes other countries don't understand certain sports. Like football, soccer is obviously completely different where you go, but wrestling, it seems to be the natural thing. Everyone understands.
The amount of communication that you need, is different than other sports. So you're exactly. It really is a different kind of. It's an art, an art form. I mean that's overused, I'm sure, but it really is a Shakespeare art kind of live performance thing.
So we heard somebody say it's the last true form of Shakespeare that's out there. It really is. And I honestly think it's due for an extremely big comeback. I think professional wrestling is going to be a major thing once again, which it is. It's a big deal, but I think it's going to be a lot more grand pretty soon, especially with where the world's going. It's a great escape.
With the landscape the way it is, it's due for a big comeback. It's already on the incline, I feel like now, but it's only going to keep going. I feel
it's never been so exciting. I think wrestling's been extremely exciting.
A lot of stuff going on in wrestling. Just go back to Israel for a second. Were you guys big time over when you went there, or only over because your dad was with you? Like, were you guys as popular, kind of thing?
So when we went with my dad, we assumed that it's mostly for my dad, because when we went for his retirement match, of course, we milked the tag to him because we knew why people were there. And for us, we're his sons, dude. I mean, we're the biggest fans of him, so we were with the people the whole time. And so my dad came out there and made the tag, and he did his thing. He wanted to do more. He had the flu, but he worked through it and did his thing. But then we got invited to go back by ourselves.
Just he and I, just Marshall and
I. Just ourselves, and we went over there, and made us love the country all over again. I couldn't believe for the amount of promoting they did, how many people turned up, and it was beautiful, man. They took us all around. We went in Mount Masada. We went on these 2 a.m. hikes. We went and saw the whole place. Went and ran around in the desert. We went and saw. We just made the most of it. But the people, we celebrated Hanukkah with them and stuff. The people, it was crazy how much they knew us, or how much they knew of my dad, but they also knew his children. They respected him enough to learn about us and know about us. But definitely the big pop was Dad's. We can't take credit for that.
So how do you guys get found by Court Bauer? Like, where does he find you guys? Where does he see you? Obviously, he probably knows the Von Erichs and who you guys are, but like, how did he find you and sign you to MLW?
He said that we were extremely hard to get in touch with, but it was actually through Israel. He tried to get in contact with us, and so they were doing a TV deal in Israel, and the people they're on the phone with are his name is Adi Kafir. He mentioned that how big the Von Erichs were in Israel, and that would be a big thing for the Israelis to watch Von Erichs again on TV. And Court was already in a little bit of contact with us about some stuff, and And then they just brought us right over. He called us and invited us over to do some matches and stuff, and it was perfect because we're just at like a turning point. Been doing a lot of Texas indie shows, and we just did a one in Philly, and that was like crazy. We've always wanted to wrestle in Philly, and the crowd is. I remember sitting in our dojo in Japan, 19 years old, and thinking like, man, that's an intimidating crowd. They don't care. They don't like you. They'll let you know. Like we're
yeah. Partly because it's the most intimidating, crowd to a lot of people. We're just like, man, I wonder how we'd be received. Like you want to put yourself in the fire and see what you're made of.
And so going to the MLW over there and being accepted by him was pretty crazy. It was unbelievable.
I'm not too far away from Philly. I've been to a bunch of those shows. You guys are over in Philly for sure. That's true.
The first trip, we weren't sure how I was going to go, but the one that hit me the most, I think it was pre-COVID. But the second time we came back,
our first time was like meh, like a little bit,
yeah.
And then it just it built like, okay, they saw us, and then they saw us again, and we're more well received. So we did something right, and that just makes you just want to pour your guts out for those people.
I was like, man, I want to go back to Philly. I can't wait to go back to Philly, and New York and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. You seem like just major towns.
When they hear that Stranglehold, when they hear that that Ted Nugent-esque song, they love it. They pop. Yeah,
dude. Even as kids, my dad, if that come on the radio, everything stops. My dad's bashing the dashboard. We're all bobbing our heads and stuff. We rocked out to that our whole lives. It never gets old. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been burned in our mind as just like the badass intro. Like whatever you're doing, it makes it rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, you can be like chopping a tree. Now if that song hits, you got a whole second wind.
Yeah.
To me, one of the best songs ever. And if it's ever on, I don't care if it's like my phone or the car, I always have to turn it up, especially, like Nugent on the guitar. It's like, I blast it. Yeah, I love that
I'm
song.
right there with you. And right when the crescendo hits, that's when you're, it gets you going.
Oh, man. Just in the beginning, as soon as you hear it, it's like, oh, blasting it.
Yeah, something about that. I don't know. It's simple, but it's so just.
My dad knew. He said right when he heard that song, he's like, "This is what I need," because they weren't really doing music and wrestling together yet. My dad talked to my grandfather, and he's like, "I want to play some rock and roll before I walk out there."
He's like, rock and roll was made for wrestling. He thought,
And Michael Hayes and them, they were doing Freebird, but it's a little slower and or whatever. And then my dad was trying to get Michael Carey on board, and I think they settled at Rush, but he had some other song that had like a 3-minute long intro until he even comes out, or a 2-minute long intro. My dad's like, that's not the point. You got to get the people riled up. You can't keep them that long. If you 20 seconds max, and then your crescendo hits. Uncle Dave, what did he come out to? The Grange?
Yeah.
Or is that
Thin Lizzy or something?
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but they're all using awesome.
Yeah, Stranglehold though, you can't go wrong with that one.
Yeah, love Stranglehold. When you guys win the MLW tag titles, does that mean a lot to you? Like, do you guys think about titles and stuff, or you're trying to get better, trying to get more bookings, loving the business? Titles mean anything to you guys?
That one meant a lot to us.
Yeah. Because right before that, we for the first time we'd won a title like a few months right before we went to MLW, and at the beginning it really doesn't mean much, but it actually means more and more when you think about it, because that's the promoter putting his business on you, saying, this is what we have to offer. This is the best that my promotion has to offer, and so it's a huge deal for us. And so when we go into MLW, we just go in, try to be humble. We're fine just doing whatever we got to do, for as long as it is. We just want to be good employees. So for them to put that trust and respect on us at such a, it was pretty much right off the bat. It was within the first year, I think.
Yeah, it felt almost too soon. It was right when we got there. It was we couldn't believe it, and then it didn't really hit until they gave us the belts, and we're in Chicago, and the crowd's like all up and stuff, and I was like, man, they're like happy for us too. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We got home, and I think we're on the last flight from LA back to Hawaii, and we're sitting next to each other, and we just opened our phones and saw on Twitter Von Erich's the new MLW Tag Team Champions. It was like, dude, what? This is crazy, you know, because we're MLW fans before MLW came to us, and so it was just it was cool, you know. I think that was the first like prestigious title that we held that we held dear to us, you know, and so it was really cool.
Yeah, that was great. Obviously, you beat the dynasty, but it's pretty cool, like to have like their homegrown guys win it because it almost felt like MLW guys were like homegrown, not technically, but it just felt
Yeah.
like that.
No, I hear what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, because we hadn't been signed to a major company before that. You know, came in as relatively unknowns, and then worked our way up.
And at that time, we were pretty anti-signing a contract with anybody. We wanted to stick to the indie scene, and it's like I don't want to sign my life away. And then Court came in, and we had a offer we couldn't pass up. He knew that we wanted to be with that family was important to us. And their schedule worked out perfectly. And he was cool with us living in Hawaii, not having to move back to the mainland or move back to mainland, which we've considered. You know, going back to Texas or somewhere just to make the flights easier and all that. And now that I got my little family, I could bring them with us. But I got a feeling if we did do that, my dad would probably follow us or at least come hang out with us for a few months at a time. And then that's how I'd get my plan and I guess in the works, getting dad in that ring.
Yeah, so that could happen. You guys move back here because obviously Hawaii here might be, I don't know, more money for the flight or harder flight or longer flight, whatever you want to say. So that's a plan or a possible plan.
We're definitely open to it. We're open because this is a great place to retire, and we wanted to spend this time with my dad in his later years to be with him. We work on the island, so we're home a lot more, and then we were leaving like once a month before MLW. We're leaving more. That's why we like to go doing MLW. We can slow it down a little bit, spend more time with family, and and it's consistent because we know exactly when we're leaving every time instead of, hey, you guys want to fly out next weekend, and so we like that the stability, but then we both feel like right now we're comfortable enough where we could just go wrestle a main event match, and we feel comfortable enough to do our thing. We know what the other one's capable of. We know what we do. We know what we're comfortable with, and we the style that we do. So it's I feel like we're finally at a maturity where we could go and wrestle for anybody, and who knows, maybe we'll get we'll stay with MLW or we'll go. I don't know. I don't want to be the guy that eats his words from saying never all the time or any absolutes and stuff. So I'm going to stay away from any absolutes or never. But yeah, I believe one time I think maybe it got heard wrong, but we said we'd never ever go to WWE. At the time they offered us, we were not ready. We didn't feel like we were at our physical's best. We wanted to, if we ever went to WWE, we wanted to put our best foot forward and say, this is the best that we have to offer. Here it is. And at that time we were not, we were, had no promo experience,
had a lot of learning
to do. And, and so we definitely didn't feel like we were ready then. And who knows, I got a family now and stuff. And so, anything can happen in the next, 5 to 7 years. And I know that now we're ready to run with this.
Yeah, and who knows the way it's playing out. Right now our contracts are up in 6 months. And almost feel like the world's at our fingertips. Things are happening, things are moving, and and we always go back to that time we saw those names on the wall. It's just like there's a purpose, there's an end game for this thing, and we're just kind of along for the ride. And our only job is just to bust our ass and do our best in the ring and out of the ring, and then the chips let them fall where they may.
Yeah.
So who made that offer from WWE though? Was that like Triple H or Johnny Ace, or who made that offer?
So it was what was the name? It was on an email. It was Jim Ross. Jim Ross reached out to us and got us a tryout. Wasn't an offer, it was a tryout for NXT. And so they were going to fly us out to go do the tryout. And we immediately accepted, but then and I feel like too, my dad, when he found out we wanted to be wrestlers, he wanted us to go to the highest thing we could and go to WWE to learn like the best way. And my dad was like, I can make some phone calls for you guys if there's anything y'all need to do. And we're just like, no, Dad, we really want to see if we can make it. The name is done enough for us. We want to see how far we can make it with just our skill and ability. And 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 so Jim Ross gave us a call and had us got us a tryout. And I think it was like a few weeks or before the tryout, we're at the gym, and I had this weird, anxiety,
It's like
unsettling feeling, like it's not the time, it's not the time, it's not the time. And then I didn't really say anything to him, and he was working out, and he mentioned something like, I hope we're not forcing anything to happen by doing this, and not putting our best foot forward. And when he said that, I was having like dreams about it and stuff. And I was like, hey man, what if we don't go yet? What if when we go, we want to give them the best product that we have? And what if we give it another couple of years or whatever before we go, or if something else comes up? Because what we were doing too, we both enjoyed. We're wrestling in Texas. We were getting better and better. We're wrestling every weekend. We were we were working all around Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and we were getting a lot better and a lot more comfortable. Hanging out with Chavo and MVP, Chavo Guerrero, man, that guy's helped us. Been like a brother to us. He watches every one of our matches. We sit there and he dissects it. And I remember
it's not always fun either.
The first couple of times it was terrible.
Yeah. When we were young in the business, him
and MVP just lit. Like we had a match, we got back and they freaked out.
Like you guys in here, they slammed the door and it was just yelling and this and that.
If you're a third generation guy, they're gonna treat you a little different. And Chavo knows this. He's a generation guy, and so when he treated us like he would like his nephew or his little brother or whatever, he rammed into us. He was like, "What the hell was that?" Blah blah blah. He's like, "That's your brother. You're gonna sit there and let your brother get choked out, and you're just gonna sit there and watch." And it was it's exactly what we needed to hear. And at the time, I was like, man, forget this guy, man.
And he was saying very obvious stuff now looking back.
He was saying the things that were in the voice inside, like my instincts were saying, but I was telling them to shut up because I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to do this yet. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And basically told us to trust our gut and changed everything for us. And when I see two guys on my brother, naturally, I'm not going to let that happen. And so I'm going to get in there and break that up. And the referee, if he didn't try to stop me, then I'm going to run him over, And I noticed we started watching Chavo's tag matches with Eddie, and it's exactly that. The referees had to work. They were sweating and holding on to him as hard as they can, trying to keep him off each other. But that's your family, You're not going to sit there. I'm not going to let my brother get jumped by two guys, and I got to get a legal tag, man. I can't save you. It's got to be a legal tag. Like, no, screw rules. My brother's getting beaten up. Forget rules. I'm gonna go in there and save him, And Chavo just put it in perspective for us with MVP there. And then I remember, I think it was like 7 or 8 matches after that, he told us good match, man, and that meant that little thing.
Yeah, those two words were like, oh man, it just melted you. Like, oh god, I needed that, I
was like, how did you think of our match? And he was like, good match. I can't say you did anything wrong. And that was it. And we walked back. We're like, I slept great that night. We went to IHOP and ate a ton of food. We celebrated. It was a big celebration for us.
You finally got the psychology down. He couldn't get on anything. Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was what my dad was telling us from the beginning, but just hearing it from your dad it's different. And then you see wrestlers, how they treat your dad, and you're like, shoot, I need to listen to this guy. I wish I would have listened to him sooner. But there's so many things. I was like, no, Dad, wrestling's changed. It's not like that anymore. And he's like, screw it. He's like, just call it in the ring. Call the whole thing in the ring. And I should have. I wish I would listen to him sooner. But trusting that is when things really change for us.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, trusting your that inner voice, your inner instincts, and it takes you a while to get to the point where you can do it and feel comfortable enough to do that. And but it's just once you start doing it, there's really no going back. I mean,
I don't know if it's just me. I never said this on a podcast, so it might sound crazy, but my inner voice, it's always been it's when we're wrestling and stuff, and I like want to do something and I don't do it. For some reason I hear my Uncle Dave's voice the whole time, like in my matches, like in my ears or whatever. And then it's always like a country accent, like grab that boy, do this, hit him. And I say stuff I would never say when I'm yelling and stuff. Like I don't even have a hardcore Texas accent. When we're yelling, I'm like, whoa, baby, let's go, Texas. I'm like, where's this coming from?
Yeah, that's weird.
Uncle Dave is borrowing my body, I feel like.
Yeah, like the ghosts of the past are coming to visit you guys. Yeah, that's awesome. But
Yeah.
as we wind it down here, head towards the finish, I got to mention Ric Flair's last match. If you think about it, Ric Flair kind of was the catalyst in world class between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, the cage match, and obviously shutting the cage. I mean, that kind of started off kind of Flair's fault if you think about it. But you guys were a part of his last match against the Briscoes. What was that like? Because that was a great match, and obviously two brother teams going at it.
Dude, that was so awesome. The everything that could go wrong went wrong. We missed. We got into Arizona and our flight was delayed 6 times, and so we're just sitting in Arizona. We missed the meet and greet, which we're really upset about. We wanted to go meet the people and see them. We literally flew in like maybe 20 minutes before our match.
Yeah, we got there after the show had already started.
We had to get dressed in the van, and it was had to wrestle in our jeans because bags weren't ready or anything. So we just got there and we just went straight into the ring. And so I wish I would have been able to talk to more people, but it was almost better in a way because I never got to see the crowd until I walked out of the apron. We walked out from the locker room, and it's a big crowd, man. It was like,
yeah,
it was everyone got to see our natural reaction because we were, that was our first time absorbing what was going on.
That was us seeing the crowd for the very first time, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah,
the whole thing was just off the cuff,
The Briscoes are fun. We definitely want to work with them again. That was fun. There's definitely some brotherly rivalry in there, and I want to do it again. I really want to do it again. At least redeem ourselves, man. I want to come in. I'm not making excuses, but I was puking the whole trip. I got food poisoning, and man, it was nuts. Like right when it started, I started feeling better. Right when the match was over, I think wrestling and sweating it out, I started feeling better. But
yeah.
Crazy, all the stuff that happened beforehand. We wouldn't have known. We just think you're walking in the ring wrestling in jeans.
There was so much leading up to that. It's unreal. We're like, just got there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was so much to worry about that at one point you're just like, all right, worrying's obviously not making the plane go faster, not making cars go faster. Let's just be as lighthearted as we can. Let's enjoy what we can and smile and laugh.
If we make it, we make it. If we don't, we don't.
And so we had a great time in Arizona, and we ended up making it. We had the match, and it ended up working out.
So what's next for you guys? I know 6 months left in the MLW deal, but what's next? What do you guys want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Are you thinking WB? You thinking AEW? Like, what's next for you guys?
We're gonna see how the cards unfold, man. It's now we're definitely open to anything, open to staying with MLW, open to AEW, WWE, any promotion that will offer us. Maybe go back to Japan. We're open to anything. I'm not gonna say absolutely not to anything, but right now we're getting some dates nailed down. I can't confirm anything yet because I'm still talking to promoters and working out flights and stuff, but we want to do come back to the States and do some we want to try to land everywhere or do some shows everywhere just to get our name out there, get our name back out there, and let people know we're still doing our thing. And then it's
maybe show some love back to everybody that has showed us love, because if we do hypothetically, sign some contract and we're not able to, do these things, we're always gonna have such good memories of the indie scene. So we just want to really get that out of our system, I guess.
We have a little backup plan that we haven't really talked about before, but we did this show up in Detroit, Texas. No one's ever heard of it. I never heard of it. I lived in Texas my whole life. It's called Detroit, Texas. There's also a Palestine, Texas, and a Jewett, Texas. There's some weird Texas name towns, but we did this show where we talked to the middle school, the high school, the elementary the day before, and then we wrestled the next day. And every kid that we talked to came, and it was probably one of the most fulfilling things that we've ever done. We went and these little kids were so riled up and pumped up, and we did some anti-bully messages. Ross signed me up to arm wrestle the strongest high school kid, and he kicked my butt in front of everybody. And my biggest nightmare was public speaking in high school. And we literally walked into a pepper rally full of high school kids. We had nothing planned. They just give you a microphone and say, okay, tell them what's going on. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on, man. What are you talking about? And he's like, I was there long enough with a microphone in my mouth or with my face that the fear finally went away because and
then the way we relax, we try to put each other in awkward, embarrassing situations. That's why I was like, who's the biggest kid here? Who thinks he can beat him in an arm wrestling match? And, stuff like that. And when the show actually happened, the sound of there being that many kids in the crowd was just, It's
sound a lot like world class.
Yeah, reminiscent of world class.
It's a whole bunch of screams, and you hear the wrestling crowd nowadays. It's almost like a deeper octave because it's like, male heavy. But going in that, it was that screech. That's why my dad's ears are so bad, because of the screech of when girls are screaming
in the sportatorium.
So we got a glimpse of that, and man, it was nuts. I mean, my dad did that for years. No telling he can't hear anything. When a girl screams now, it like lights my dad up. Like, oh shit, please stop, please. Like his nephews or granddaughters that see a bug and scream or something like that, and it just lights my dad up. I'll pace. I walk outside and pace around, and he gets mad.
Yeah,
love it. He probably puts him in the claw. He's got to get him in the...
Yeah, man. That's the number one move on all the kids here. We got a stomach claw.
They all know what the claw is.
Yeah.
Obviously, he taught you guys that move pretty well, right?
Yeah, and I can't tell you how awesome it is when watching my nephews and sons fight each other and they bust out the claw. It's awesome to see it. It really is.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. My son right now, he's like wearing his whitey tighties with his taped wrist. He's running on the yard somewhere right now. He's in his head. He's watching my MLW stuff. It's crazy. It's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Who do you think had the best claw ever? Who do you think?
Man,
probably my grandpa, man.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Because his hands were huge. His hands were.
Yeah, he'd have one finger that makes an L, and then the other one makes like a Z shape, and he just had the craziest looking hands. And when you shake somebody's hand and they're just like rough and they feel like steel, it's to a T. That was him.
That's when you shake his hand would completely surround your hand, like your whole hand. His middle finger and thumb touched each other. I was like, jeez.
So, guys, before we let you go, where can everybody find you, social media and otherwise?
Yeah, so on Instagram, we're at Ram Von Erich, Ross and Marshall, Ram, and then Twitter at Marshall Von Erich, at Ross Von Erich. And then we've taken a pretty long, lengthy break from our podcast, getting this house stuff finished. But yeah, we'll start our podcast back up, the Iron Claw Cast. And so we'll be posting up shows pretty soon. And we got a YouTube channel, and we're on every podcast platform that you can think of. So yeah, go check us out there and get our merch from mlwshop.com.
Nice. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Marshall, Ross, thank you. Maybe next time we'll get your dad on, and he'll can tell us if you can get him down from the trees. Yeah.
It's a fun interview. I'll tell him about
it. We'll bring the camera up to the tree. So
there we go.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, man. You have a good one.